We enjoy watching videos where people walk around streets with cameras just to see what's there. And if we simplify it, we notice two kinds of streets. There are high streets and there are side streets. Here is a high street in Paris, and a few blocks later, here is a side street in Paris. Here is a high street in Albuquerque, and a few blocks away, here is a side street in Albuquerque. Of course, we exaggerate the differences for clarity and for dramatic effect. High streets include places like the Champs-Élysées, and side streets include neighborhoods like Vauban. Those are the good examples. Bad examples of high streets include strip malls, and bad examples of side streets include American suburbs. We will delve into why they are good or bad later in the video. We're going to contrast these a little bit. We note that high streets predominantly have retail or commercial space on the ground floor, whereas side streets predominantly have homes on the ground floor. The services that people in high streets need are shops and restaurants. Additional uses include theaters and offices. The services that people need on side streets are things like parks and daycare. Additional uses include gyms and corner stores. The people that hang out on high streets are predominantly adults. The people that hang out on side streets include children and seniors. Not that you don't have children and seniors on high streets, or not that you don't have adults on side streets. But the high street is where an adult will go shopping, maybe go to the office, go get some work done. Side streets are where children and seniors spend their days, playing, doing homework, visiting with their friends, and so forth. Another difference, which was pointed out by commenters on one of our previous videos, is that high streets predominantly cater to tourists. The tourists could be people from the next block over. They could be people from the next town over. They could be people from the next country over. But they are visiting for a while, and most of the people on the high streets are going to go back home soon. People on the side streets are predominantly residents, people who live there. Shops on high streets are shared spaces that many different people will access during the day. Homes on side streets are private spaces that are visited mainly by one family. High streets bring people together. Side streets keep people apart. High streets are more glamorous and have more money. Side streets are less glamorous and more mundane. A related issue is that people talk about many eyes on the streets. On high streets, which may have shops on the ground floor and perhaps apartments above, there are many eyes on the streets. On side streets, it's really just the family and neighbors that have eyes on the street. So what makes the Champs-Élysées good and strip malls bad, or what makes Vauban good and suburbs bad? We believe it is just how easy or how hard is it to get what you need. Let's start with the observation that fewer and fewer people in America are buying cars and have driver's licenses. The fraction of 18-year-olds with driver's license in the U.S. declined from 80% in 1983 to 61% in 2018. Europeans and Japanese have relied less on cars for many, many decades. The ideals of high streets and of side streets have many things in common. The shops on high streets would like to be accessible by many people, which means that they would like to be close to many homes and to public transport. People on side streets would like to access all of the services that they need. They want good access to parks and gyms and stores and daycare, as well as to good transportation. And of course, everyone would like all streets to be safe and beautiful. Yet the ideals of high streets and side streets differ. High streets are more public and interesting, and they bring people together. Side streets are more private and mundane, and they separate people apart. A paved plaza with a sculpture is more likely to be on a high street. A grassy park with a playground is more likely to be on a side street. A theater or museum is more likely to be on a high street. A grocery store is more likely to be on a side street. High streets should be walkable, while side streets should be livable. Jeff Speck comments that walkable places must be useful, safe, comfortable, and interesting. In contrast, we looked for definitions of livable, but found nothing definitive. LivableCity.org comments that livable spaces are compact, diverse, green, sustainable, healthy, and accessible. And Oakland County, Michigan notes that livable spaces are affordable and have access to parks, transportation, and food. We would add that livable spaces must be affordable, safe, and connected. The most important reason why high streets differ from side streets is that people need a lot more residential space than they need retail space. The United States has around 24 square feet of retail space per person and around 600 to 700 square feet of residential space per person. Europe and Japan have 4 to 5 square feet of retail space per person and around 400 to 500 square feet of residential space per person. In the US, there's 25 times as much residential space as there is retail space. In Europe and Japan, there is around 100 times as much residential space as retail space. If we compared all commercial space in the US, which includes offices and hotels and theaters, then there would be 10 times as much residential space as commercial space. Alas, we do not know how much commercial space there is in Japan and Europe. If they have 2.5 times as much commercial space as retail space, then they would still have 40 times as much residential space as commercial space. This means that even if you move as much residential space into the upper floors of the high street as possible, cities will still have many, many times more residential streets or side streets than high streets. Great cities need both great high streets and great side streets. Urban planners have worked on better high streets for a long time, and we feel they're making a lot of progress. However, we believe that the side streets do not yet get the attention they deserve to care for all of their residents, so that children and seniors can access the services that they need. Residential streets should not be treated as the kid step brothers of the high streets. They need to be treated with their own dignity and respect.